What's happening, you guys? My name is Aaron, and welcome to Style Sessions with That Guy's Secret. With me today, of course, is Jeremy Reed, founder and owner of That Guy's Secret. What's up, man?
Hey, not much. Just happy to be here this morning. It's a great day.
Yeah, man. So the podcast, let's give them a little background on what the podcast is, essentially. It's a podcast about helping you guys find and curate your own individual style. Yeah, basically.
I mean, I think that's, I think that's really at the core of who we are from That Guy's Secret is we try to help folks develop their own style, get confident in it, which in the long run ends up, being the best look on anybody.
Right. When I first started with you, you told me that there was a saying by Deion Sanders. What was that?
Yeah, so Deion, and everybody doesn't remember Deion, obviously, multi-sport guy, but one of his favorite things was, if you look good, you play good, and if you play good, they pay good. It was one of those things that always, it just rang for me, and I actually was fortunate enough to play some football and stuff and baseball. So he was like an idol to me, jersey number, he's just, I love the guy, right?
Sure.
And he had a lot of swagger, That dude had swagger. But the important part is that he was right,
Yeah.
And we see it a lot of other advertisings now. It's, feel good, do good thing, we see it adjusted a little bit, but at the end of it's the same story, right? It's all about self confidence and self vision.
Yeah, and I think that's really true in the fact of like when you feel confident and you get a lot of like compliments and stuff like that, you feel better about yourself, and it breeds success, and not necessarily success in work always, but success in life and relationships, and just when you're more confident, you just tend to feel better about yourself. Have a better outlook on life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, honestly, and I even sometimes I'll even say that it does breed success in career and family life and all that other stuff. I mean, everybody has some level of self-doubt. I mean, that's just what it is. But if you can figure out things that make you happy, and then you just by being a generally happy person or feel confident, other people can feel that. And then I just feel like it gives you better opportunities. I mean, and I know this first episode we're doing here, I mean, we'll get more into style as we go, guys, but this first episode is a little bit more just to get to know us, and we'll give you a little tips today, I'm sure. But I have been asked, so I've had That Guy's Secret now for over 5 years. The conception's been many more years than that, but the actual storefront itself has been over 5 years. And one of the most common questions I get still today, and you get it now, you work here.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
What's the secret?
What's the secret? And and I remember I always used to, kind of play around with people and whatever. Like, what's that name mean? Like, is it Victoria's Secret? All these crazy things, right? You get those things.
Yeah.
The reality of it was always confidence. That was the answer.
Yep.
But people asked me like, I don't understand how you got to that name. And I said, in the era that I came up with this, or the life that I was living at that point in time, is I would run across people and I'd be curious how that particular guy was if he was dating a certain girl or if he had a certain job or whatever. And I'm sure that, in hindsight, I look back, people were asking the same thing about me. Like, how's that guy with that girl, or how's that guy have that job, or
right.
Whatever it is, right? Drive that nice car, whatever. All those things are that we look at sometimes in envy of other people. The question was always the same thing. What does that guy have that I don't have? Like,
right.
How is he succeeding and I'm not? So it did a little soul searching for me.
Sure.
That's the story of truly how the name came to be. Was I went through it and I looked at it and I said, wow, it's really this simple, guys.
What is that guy's secret?
There was literally a question in my brain when I was out or about or in career, everything else, right?
Yeah.
And it boiled down to, I was just like everything else, and we all do it, right? You do it, I do it. We try to make things as simple as we possibly can to make sense to ourselves.
Right.
I went through the whole what's that guy's secret, and eventually I just boiled it down to the one word: confident. So that's a little bit of the backstory of like how the name came to be, because that's a common question we get.
Oh yeah, all the time. Every day.
And sometimes I think people are expecting it to be nefarious.
I don't know what they're thinking.
I don't really know either. It's interesting. It was always the name when I was thinking of this, but I had people that are like, oh, you should name it, you should name it after yourself or something.
Yeah.
Which I'm just not that type of person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I say that, and there's a funny story about the logo. and it just happens to be that we both fit the logo now.
Yeah.
But I was sitting at the kitchen table, and it was the first year that I was going to the trade show to see if I can make this idea work. And I had to have a business card. So I was like, oh gosh, I don't have a logo. I don't have anything. So I sat there and I drew it, and I just, the triangle is the shirt, obviously, and the tie. And then I put a beard on the guy. I still actually wear hats all the time, but I'm a big New York Yankees fan.
Sure.
And so I drew a baseball cap, flat bill baseball cap, New York Yankees, and I'm sitting there, and it's now my fiance, but at the time girlfriend. She just looks at me. She's like, "Really?" She's like, "You're gonna just put a drawing of yourself on the side of a building?"
Yeah, I am.
Yes, I am. And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. That's a little much." So I flipped my pencil over and I just erased the hat, and I was like, could be anybody now.
There it is.
Could be anybody.
That's right.
So that's a little bit of the story on how we got that going.
I know, but here's the thing, though. Like the great thing about that logo is that it's the branding that comes with it. You know what I mean? I've had people who walk through this mall that don't know that we're here. They know who I am.
Sure.
And they go, that looks like Aaron. Like,
yeah.
And then they come in and I'm here and they're like, oh, shoot, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, I don't know. I work here. What do you mean? I'm like,
I don't know. I'm working. Yeah. It's funny because a good friend of mine, he's on the radio back up in LaSalle, Peru, Sean. He's in a couple of local bands and stuff. But he's actually moved away to Tampa now, but he has a big beard as well.
Sure.
Now, he's not like us. He doesn't have the nice close shave up top, He's got hair up top. But people for years, because we did a graffiti piece on this outside of our building up there, that had some local bands, and he happened to be in a couple. So they always thought that picture was him. But that's really what it, at the core of this. I mean, it's always been that thing, and that's the driving factor for me is how do we help the most amount of men?
Right.
And when guys can identify with it, it makes it easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
for sure.
And beards right now are in,
Beards are in.
Beards are in.
Yeah.
Beards are in.
I've only had this beard for I don't know, like 15 years. Or
something. Trendsetter.
That's right.
Trendsetter. That's why we're talking on the
exactly,
microphones. That's why we have microphones, folks.
That's right. So we went over the basis of what the store is and what this company's name means and what the story is and stuff like that. But like, how did you end up in this industry? Because you didn't start in this industry, right?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I never thought I'd be in this industry either. It wasn't, to give a full view of who I am, I guess. I was athlete, all that stuff. And I was that typical high school kid that, I just wore shorts and workout gear all the time. Right. And I stick a pin in that part of the story because even if you go to your website, you'll see this story. So apparently, though, fashion was always something that was like subconsciously in me because when I was in kindergarten, apparently I demanded. I was 5 or 6 years old. This is a story I don't remember, obviously, I was told. But I demanded that I got a suit. It was a brown 3-piece, like, real nice suit, right? Now, mind you, I grew up in a very rural community.
Sure.
I mean, the town that I went to grade school in had 500 people, 700 people. We had a farm. I mean, all that stuff, right? So it's not like I lived in the city. Okay. I mean, I never even, a city to me was 5,000 people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyways, I request this. My mom obliges, and so I get it. And then apparently, like the first day of kindergarten, like I'm wearing a full 3-piece suit. I was just sad. I'm like, yeah, look at me, like I'm this dude, right? So that was back when I was really young. And then I said, I got really into sports. And so it really was, my gear was workout gear. And went away to school and stuff. And I started, wanting to dress better because I wanted to look better. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
But I really got into sales. It was in college. I got hurt playing, football. So I was done, needed a job to help pay for college. And I actually started selling jewelry of all things. Mm-hmm. So that was my first experience really with sales, period. And then like customer service based things. because before that I was very much labor-esque, outdoor
Right.
work, stuff like that.
Right.
But I got into that, and I was studying my degree. One of my degrees is business administration.
Sure.
Because I always assumed I would be in the business world. I thought CEO of some big company, right? When you're young, that's just kind of my dream. And so, anyways, I got into sales, and next thing you know, it was really comfortable for me.
Sure.
Enjoyed talking to people. I enjoyed being around people. Enjoyed like coming up with solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always look at sales as a solution-based business. It's less about me trying to get you to get something you don't need, as to figuring out what you want.
Well, I think those are the best salespeople in my mind. You know what I mean? The ones who have that thought process that aren't concerned with, I got to make this sell, I got to make this sell, I got to make this sell. It's not about that. It's like at the end of the day, if you're in the right industry and you're in the right field and you're in the right position, your job should be customer service number one, and then the sales will come.
Yeah, and I think that is a great way to look at it. A very well, much more elegant way to put it too. But yeah, so it's exactly the truth. And so that was always kind of my thing, and I learned that in that first sales job. And so, anyways, I ended up sticking with sales and retail management through college, and then even post college. I got some nice job offers, and I just stuck with it. It was a good gig, right? So I did that for a while. I moved around a little bit, ended up, however long later, decades later, actually, I guess, found myself working in those professions. And I was actually I was doing a marketing sales job. And, there's always there's a dress code uniform you got to wear, right?
Yep.
Which we'll get to in a later episode, I'm sure, right? That's always a tough conversation for people, but we'll get to that. So I was having to dress a certain way, pretty similar I am here with a tie, a jacket and a tie. And so where I live now, LaSalle, Peru area, there's 20, 30,000 people there or whatever, but there wasn't any like better men's store, I like to call them. I mean, there's one, but it was very much dated. Nice folks, it was just a little dated, more than my style. Yeah. And so I was always having to go to Chicago to get outfits.
Right.
And I was helping small businesses market, and I was like, gosh, this town's really booming. They got all these small shops. It would be awesome if they had a men's shop down here.
Right. And
that was kind of the story. And I was just like, if you just get some clothes just to wear, business casual, nothing too crazy. I kept saying it for a couple of years. Next thing you know, I was actually going to Europe. We're on a flight delay. Flying out of Chicago, we had a flight delay. Mm-hmm. My fiance, she sits there and she's like, "Are you serious about wanting to open a men's store?" I was like, "I don't know, I guess." So sitting in the airport, got to wait for this airplane to take off. Sit there and write a business plan. I mean, I have a business degree, for Pete's sakes.
Right.
Just we'll use it. So we sat there and we wrote this business thing. We ended up going on vacation. We come back. Next thing you know, the ball starts rolling. So I start talking. I start putting all the things together. A good friend of mine works at the bank. Got a hold of him. I said, "Hey, I got a business plan. You want to take a look at it? Let me know what you..." He looks at it and he's like, "I mean, if I give you the money, you're going to do it?" I was like, "Yeah. Like, what else am I going to do?"
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? Anyways, a couple weeks later, he's like, "Yeah, we'll give you the money, man. Go ahead."
It's never that easy.
No, right. Like, it's never that easy.
Until it is, though.
Until it is. Until you, it's like that authentic self that, you know what I mean? Like where you find where you need to be.
Yeah.
So things just started falling in place. A retail space that, I mean, it was too big for a lot of other stores, but it was perfect for a men's store because guys don't like to be crowded.
No.
You want your space. You want to be able to walk around. You want, you want help. You want service, but you don't want to feel like you're shopping at a flea market.
Right.
So it's a big store. Pretty much all the stores are big. They're big footprints.
Right.
So, that was kind of how it started is that it just, everything started falling in place. I was really doing marketing and it was out of self-want. I wanted a place to shop at myself.
Yeah.
So anyways, I, started doing it. Next thing you know, this falls into place, that falls into place. And that was 2016 when I started that process, when I actually started. So 2017 is when we actually opened the first store.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was, you know, at the start, it was me 6 days a week by myself. You know, it's just what it was.
Yeah.
I take that back. I had one girl that she's been with me. She still is. She works at the LaSalle store, and she would work Saturdays with me.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we'd have two people on Saturdays, someone that I could talk to.
Sure.
You know, sometimes that's the worst part. So when you're, definitely when you're starting, because you're not, nobody knows who you are.
Right.
They don't know what you do.
Right.
Every new store has that same issue, is that people, I don't know, for whatever reason, are like, I don't know what that store is. I'm not going to go in there. And they kind of like haul around about it. But, you know, once they come in and they're like, oh, this is my store. This is where I should shop.
Yep.
You know? So it was out of necessity that I did it, that I ended up getting into this business and doing it. So that's pretty much me. And that's how I got here. That's, you know, what I'm doing. Obviously, you know, you and I met about a year ago now.
Yeah.
About nearly a year, almost next month, I guess, will be a full year.
Yeah, August.
You got a unique story of how you got here, right?
I do, yeah. I started actually. A similar thing with you. Like when I was about 4 years old, my mom asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I was like, I want a suit. And because I used to, okay, so she worked, yeah, pretty much. She worked third shift, and she worked at the hospital, and she worked third shift all the time. So like, when I was really little, I would hang out with her in the morning after my brother and sister had gone to school, and then she would take me to the babysitter or whatever, and then she would go to work. And so I would sit there while she was getting ready to like go to work or whatever it was. I would sit there and I would watch Fred Astaire and Ginger Roger videos, on whatever TV channel they were on, PBS or whatever it was. And so I'd sit there and I'd watch all those. I love Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and all that stuff. Fred Astaire is like he is the to me the quintessential stylish gentleman. Okay, like absolutely amazing. I love it. Yeah. And so when I was 4, she asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said I wanted a suit. And so she was like, where am I going to find this kid a suit? Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to find a suit this small? And so she, like, went to a garage sale, and this lady had a bunch of kids' suits.
Oh, my gosh.
And she was like, I will take every single one of them. Right. And I came home on my birthday, huge box, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I open it up, and it's all these suits. I had, like, a seersucker suit, green double-breasted suit, black suit, like 3-piece. It was, like, just suits galore. And I was like, oh, my gosh, this is amazing.
This is great. This is the greatest thing.
And she tells a story. She's like, there was one summer I remember you were outside playing, and the neighbor called me and said, your son's outside in a suit, and it's 100 degrees outside. And she goes, okay. And she's like, well, what if he passes out? She's like, well, first of all, that's what he wants to wear. And that, I mean, whatever, that's fine. If he wants to wear a suit outside, that's fine. Right. If he passes out, I'll bring him inside, get him some water, cool him off, and send him back out. That's what he wants to wear. Leave him alone.
Let the guy be.
And it was I remember, I have the picture at home. I have to find it. And I'll post on the Instagram.
I love it.
And it's a black suit. I had penny loafers on and a white turtleneck. Ridiculous.
I love that.
Middle of July, just outside,
just
turtleneck, like, hey, what's up?
You know, I mean, yeah, that's a look.
Yeah, and so I have always worn suits, pretty much, like since I was about 4 years old. Like with the exception of like being in high school and stuff like that. Like freshman, sophomore year, it was very much wearing what everybody else wore, and like you see me like. And I'm in a suit, and like all my friends know me as the suit guy. Yeah. And so they're like, "Oh man, it was so weird knowing you in high school, and then knowing you now. It's so weird because I was wearing like the Sean John denim, of course, 2-piece with the Timberlands and the Rockaware shirt and all that stuff. Yeah. I grew up in South End Peoria, so that was got to fit in. Got to fit in. Yeah. And so. You know, junior, senior year, I started to wear like shirts and ties to school. And then like by senior year, end of senior year, I was wearing like full on suits to school.
Full suits to school.
Full on. Yeah. And people were like, why are you wearing a suit? And I'm like, why aren't you wearing a suit? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, right.
And that's just how I was comfortable. And then I started in sales when I was about 16. Sure. I actually started at Back Rack across the hall from where we are right now. And I worked there for.
I used to love that store, by the way.
Dude.
I used to love that store.
I was talking about this with Marcus, who also worked there. He works for us at the Peoria location. And he worked at Back Rack right before I did. He left.
Oh, nice.
And like the colors are just like they had just such great like style and color, and that wasn't normal.
No, it was definitely the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody else was just blue, gray, black.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's how it is now, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It's gone back to that, like, very monochromatic, modern-ish, I guess, tones. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I worked at Back Rack for a few years, and then they went out of business, and I started working at Joseph A. Bank Clothiers out at Grand Prairie Mall.
Yeah.
And to preface back to the Back Rack thing, when I started at Joseph A. Bank, I had like 2 suits, a black suit and a navy suit. That's all I had.
Of course.
And I have a bunch of dress shirts from Back Rack. They were all pinks and lavenders and, you know, the bright colors that they had.
Colors,
I'm like, I love color.
Yeah.
Obviously my eyes bright orange.
Haven't lost the love of color.
No. And so when I started working at Joseph A. Bank, I went in my first day. I had on like my navy suit. I had like a really bright like lavender tie with a white collar, white French cuff,
Sure,
and like a crazy bold purplish tie that had flowers all over it and everything like that. And then we're like, "Yo," I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You can't wear that." What? Why? And they're like, "We have a uniform here."
Oh.
And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? It's a men's clothing store." They're like, "You have to look like what we sell." I was like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah." So I had to wear, it was like a navy suit. You had to wear a dark suit.
Sure,
dark suit. Navy, gray, black, or, you know, some variation. Or like a navy blazer and tan pants or gray pants or something like that. White or light blue shirt or ivory, and then like a red or gold tie or some sort of a rep strap tie, something really conservative. It had to be super conservative.
Of course.
So I was like, oh boy. What am I going to do?
This is fun.
I was like, I've got all these ties, and they're all crazy colors and bright and just crazy. So I go home. I get home from work that day, and my mom's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I don't have anything to wear." And she's like, "You have all this stuff. What do you mean?" And I'm like, "I don't have anything to wear because they want me to wear all this conservative stuff." She's like, oh, "Okay." So we went shopping. We ended up going to Goodwill. And I tell this story because some of the ties we have here are the like vintage ties that were actually from my collection.
Sure, yeah.
And a lot of them are Brooks Brothers ties,
right.
Which this is a Brooks Brothers tie. And so we went there and we ended up finding a bunch of like a whole lot of like 20 Brooks Brothers ties. I bought them all.
Sure.
And I still wear them to this day.
Yeah, I mean, they're good solid ties.
And so like that is just kind of like the like I just love like men's clothes, but like that just frustrated me. But anyways,
of course.
I was at Joseph A. Bank for like 3+ years. I was like the youngest assistant store manager in the history of the company.
Sure.
At like 20 years old. And then like I was in the President's Club. I sold $1 million every year for the first 2 years that I was there.
Wow.
The last year, one person beat me in our store. She beat me by like $100, and I'm like, oh. Come on, man.
You're killing me.
Oh, yeah. And so from there, we moved to Bloomington, and then I worked at Von Maur, which is I guess it's a high-end like department store, like a high-end Bergner's.
I think that'd be the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and it's really nice. It's a great place. I have a lot of stories from that. From there. That was interesting. But I liked working there, and it was just kind of a different atmosphere, I guess. You know what I mean? It was very much like, as opposed to like a Men's Warehouse or a Joseph A. Bank or a Back Rack. It was really different in the sense of like, I know that they were in a mall, but usually everybody that came into the store came in for a specific reason.
Sure.
Whereas at Von Maur, it was just people just kind of lingering and walking around or
just
whatever.
kind of taking a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot less directed traffic and more just kind of like, you know, wandering around. But it was cool. It was a really interesting experience, and I kind of like got introduced to like selling sunglasses and, you know, all that kind of stuff because they didn't have that. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was in the men's furnishings department, which is, you know, suits and all that stuff, but also we had like books We had like the How to Be a Gentleman books,
Oh, yeah,
all
which
that kind
you
of
still
stuff.
currently
Yeah,
have.
which I have a bunch of those. Yeah. And then from there, I went to Men's Warehouse.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, our direct competitors.
Yeah, I would say it's probably one of our competitors. I mean, yeah, I would say, it's the big box store of our competitor,
Yeah,
right?
it is, yeah. And I was there for quite a few years, and I was our operations manager there. I was the tuxedo manager. Was my position there. So I did all the rentals and booked all the weddings and stuff like that, which I liked working there. It was cool. Again, it was one of those things where like the way they have it set up is like they're like on an individual like spot, and you have to go there. Their destination. You know
Very
what I mean?
much so. Very much so.
So it was different, but I liked it, and that was kind of where I really like flourished into like the way my style is kind of now. Back to the brighter colors and the more bold stuff, which is cool. But yeah, and then I worked at a handful of car dealerships here and there, which anybody who has ever decided to work at a car dealership or wants to work, don't do it. Just don't do it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's awful.
Long hours and hard work.
Oh my gosh,
that one
it's
is.
so rough.
Yeah.
Unless you're single and have no kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, single, no kids, do it, man.
It's not going to be bad for you.
And then I worked at some call centers and stuff like that. And then during COVID, I got laid off essentially.
Yep.
And then we kind of met.
Yeah,
and
it was as we're coming out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like the reality is that like when I was 18, I was working at like Backrack and Joseph A. Bank like at the same time as they were going out of business and stuff. And I'm like, I want to open my own clothing store.
Yeah.
Like I have wanted to open a clothing store since I was 18 years old, and I just haven't been able to do it.
Sure.
And then we kind of met, and like we met through one of the guys that works for Peoria, and he was just like, "Dude, this is your opportunity." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it was such a and I'm I even take a quick look here, and I'll brief on this story here, but
Yeah.
it was such again how things just fall in place, right?
Yeah.
And so I was happily working up in LaSalle. I really wasn't going to open a second location at that point in time. Ryan from down here at the mall came in and bought some clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I would love for you to come look at this space. Just tell me, what you think about it. Men's, So anyways, him and I talked for, it was nearly a year probably.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And, he's like, what do you think? You want to do this? And I said, man, I live an hour and 15 minutes away. I love the opportunity. I said, but it's just not feasible for me.
What are you talking about? It's a brisk commute.
Yeah. And it's so easy too. I mean, it's big highways and stuff. Anybody that hasn't made that drive understands it. It's 2-lane roads,
man.
and it's just,
It's rough.
it's just not.
It's rough. There's like a 45-minute stretch in there where you have no cell service. I'm like,
yeah. And you pretty much are just in a daze, and so you add all that stuff up, and you're like, man, I love the idea, the opportunity, but I don't know that I can confidently commute down here daily.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. So I told him, I said, I'm open to the idea. I said, my biggest concerns are, trying to find someone that fits and that can run the store and wants to, I always say take ownership of it, like actually care and actually do something, right? So he's like, oh, I got a guy. I said, okay. Okay. And I kid you not, so it was right in the middle of prom season for me, which is a busy time of year for us. And so kind of got pushed off. Ended up meeting this guy. Very nice gentleman, great guy. We sit and we talk. We actually met at some, ice cream parlor or something. We visited, whatever. Good talk. And I said, so where are you at on this story? I mean, where are you at on this concept? And he's like, I wish I would have talked to you like a week ago. He's like, I just went back to school to get my master's in education or something like that. I was like, hey man, congratulations.
Yeah.
No big deal. I understand that, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of let it go. And I don't know, a couple weeks pass. Our guy Ryan calls me back up. He says, hey, I got this lady. She's the one.
Yeah.
She was a manager at a store here in the mall, client-based store, fits right your category. I said, cool. I said, give her my information. She's like, here's her information. She asked me to give it to you. I said, okay. I go through, I kid you not, 2 or 3 weeks trying to communicate with this person with zero response. I talked to Ryan. I said, he's like, I just talked to her. He said they want to do it. Anyways, we end up never meeting. So at this point, I'm kind of like, now we're middle of summer. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, man, I don't
think it's going to happen.
I just don't think it's going to. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. The universe doesn't want it to happen yet.
Right. It just wasn't right. So I was taking the signs and I said, hey, whatever. I tried to push through the first couple. It's just not going to work out. No big deal. And next thing you know, he calls me back. He says, hey, I got this guy that I think is going to be good. I was talking to someone from the city of Peoria. Yada yada yada.
You're like, I don't know about this.
I'm like, oh,
I don't know.
I'm like, here we go. And anyways, so I end up getting your phone number.
Yeah.
I actually remember it really well. It was a Wednesday. The only reason I remember it because I just got off the golf course. I usually play golf on Wednesdays, and I just got off the golf course, and I was like, sat out on my back patio, and I called you. I had like an hour conversation with you.
Yeah.
And just kind of chatted with you, and you just taking you were just getting back where you're coming out of laid off, trying to get some work and all this stuff, and we kind of chatted. And
I had literally just started. That was my first day back at Men's Warehouse.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that till a week or two later that was the case. But so we're sitting there and we talked for an hour. So I kind of tell you this story, some of the story that I told to everybody here today, and we kind of chatted. And you kind of told me your background, a similar story that you had told today, and. So, why don't we meet or whatever, and, we schedule it a couple days later, we're going to meet, blah, blah. And we end up meeting and it was a peculiar first meeting, right?
Sure.
Because I was like, I got to work. And so anyways, I come down as a weird time that I come down.
It was a Saturday or something like that.
Yeah, it was a Saturday. And you're like, I got to work. Because we're going to meet on Friday and that didn't work out. And then come Saturday, I came down and bang, you're there. We walk through the store, we look at it together, and I was like, yeah, I got a good vibe from this guy. But I was like, man, I thought you said you were working at the other joint today. And you're like, So anyways, I and I'd hired him. I had to be in that position before. I was like, it's kind of weird, but I'm like, I don't know. So I was actually, I went back home and I sat there and again and talked, so my fiance Leah, her and I we share our life really well together. And so I sat and talked with her and I said, hey, met this guy, but she was here to meet me.
She was
too.
here. Yeah.
And so we talked about it, thoroughly over that weekend. And I said, I think this guy is going to work. And I said, but here's the reality of it. I said, no matter what, I'm going to pull the trigger on this. Because we'd met and I had enough confidence that I felt like it was going to work, that it was going to at least work to get us up and rolling.
Right.
And then I could make a decision, at that point in time, which it was a great decision I, ended up making there, but it was all up in the air. And it said, again, things just fell into place.
Yeah.
They fell into place, for me, finding someone that has a similar vision than I do, and we have different backgrounds, but they're almost the same, as they come up and the same views, same things. We don't, I was thinking about it this morning on the drive down. We approach things a lot differently, but almost always the same.
Yeah.
Which is, I know, an oxymoron in itself to say that, but I feel like we see the same goal and sometimes we approach it a different way, and it works so well. It's just how we merge together.
Yeah.
And that goes to say, through everything, our outfits and our everything. So, which is really what we're going to end up getting into as we go further.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's kind of where our overall goal is to be able to, help our audience, and it's not just promote our business or something. Obviously we will, we're going to, we're not idiots. We're going to promote ourselves. That's what we do. But the reality of it is to help men in fashion and style.
Yeah. And that's the reason we got into it, right? Is because we want to help you guys find your own individual style and help you build. God, I can't talk right now. Be more confident and build your confidence and stuff like that. I mean, every guy needs to be a little bit more confident.
Yeah.
Every guy. It doesn't matter. Unless you're The Rock.
Speaking of The
Come on
Rock,
now.
did you see that video the other day of him and Chris Hart or Kevin Hart? Those guys
Oh,
are
yeah.
hilarious.
Oh,
with the
yeah, dude.
tortilla swap.
Oh, my
It
gosh.
was so funny. Those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as I said, self-confidence is truly, in my opinion, the key to success.
Absolutely.
Which, did you have anything else? Because I have a question for you if we're near the end.
No, I'm good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because I know we're not. I know today might be a little long-winded. I think essentially we'll do 30, 45 minutes or somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I think we're about there.
We're about probably where we need to be. So my question to you, I was thinking about this, and you can. So maybe we'll make this a segment at the end of our each podcast.
Okay.
I want to hear from you one thing. An item of clothing or a particular piece of clothing. I mean, it could be a general category or a very particular item that, when you have, if it's a job interview or if it's a big date or something like that, that you're like, this is the one piece that I have to have, and it really sets the mood for my entire outfit.
I honestly, for me, it's the shoes.
The shoes.
It is the shoes.
Yeah.
Like a really
But
good.
you're wearing a nice double monk
my
strap?
Allen Edmonds double monk strap.
Yep.
Yeah. A nice pair of dress shoes kind of sets the tone, especially for like a job interview.
Sure.
That's the first thing most people look at when you come in for a job interview.
I agree.
Look at the shoes. If you take care of them really well, they go, okay, this
guy cares.
This guy knows what he's doing. Yeah,
I agree.
He's good.
100%.
It doesn't have to be dress shoes. If you're going on a date, a nice pair of white sneakers.
Yep.
I mean, great, perfect option. Nice minimalist.
Yeah.
Basic pair goes with everything. But yeah, for me, it's always
The
shoes.
shoes.
Shoes kind of where I start.
So that's your outfit builders. You start with the shoe, and then you'll go off of there.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I said I'm a shoe guy, men's or women's. I constantly notice footwear on pretty much everybody and almost all occasions that it'd be peculiar for me not to notice someone's footwear.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that, so that thing, the reason why I asked that is, you need to find that piece that you love. And obviously we talk about, and I know this is some of your favorite shoes, right? This is probably your favorite pair of shoes.
Yes, absolutely.
I've seen you wear them before. That you love the double monk. But I wanted to bring attention to the particular color. They're like a cognac brown of some sort. And I know, I'm sure that we have some video, but obviously some of you guys are just listening. I guess my recommendation would be find that pair of shoes, and currently in this era that we live, it would probably be a cognac shoe. If it's a monk, if it's a cap toe, if it's a wingtip, plain toe, whatever you're wearing, whatever you love.
Medium brown, some sort of a medium brown.
Brown is probably the shoe you need, and that's probably what you need to start most of your outfits off of. And that's for anybody that's a very novice dresser, or to the most veteran. I really think that shoe is the best shoe you can be wearing right now.
I agree.
I agree,
which is why we have two brown shoes.
Right, we have a couple of fashion. But it really is. It's just as you see it in all the fashion and the trends and stuff like that. So find something that you can get confidence in. And build from there, because it may be shoes where you start, but obviously I look at your outfits and there's always things that complement each other and they build more confidence as you build up. So that's great.
Cool.
Good information for our listeners, I think.
Thanks, man.
So,
okay, well, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
We're about almost 40 minutes, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. So, thank you guys so much for joining us for today's episode of Style Sessions. Again, my name is Aaron Selburg, Jeremy Reed. We are from That Guy's Secret. We have two locations, Peoria, Illinois, and LaSalle. If you go to thatguysecret.com, you can see some more information about us. We also have an Instagram and Facebook account for both of the stores. So we ask that you, follow us, like, subscribe to the podcast, and all that good stuff. We also have a YouTube channel that's going to be amping up here soon. If you have any questions or need anything, let us know. You can send us an email, peoria@thatguysecret.com. I will link and list everything down in the description. We'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, please ask some questions, but see you guys next time. It was great.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.